Thanks for asking this question. Many actually have no idea that my background is from Christianity. All I knew was Christianity. So I was born into it. I had many family members that were pastors. I was on a praise dance team. I was in a choir. I also put my children within it, and my husband, he actually came from, his family is within a Jehovah background, and he actually converted over to Christianity. So that's actually how deep I was into the religion. And I went to college. I was not looking at anything outside of what I knew, if that makes any sense. It wasn't until I had that accident, things that I never thought of, I started seeing things. I started hearing things. I started, while I was in the religion, I did question it a lot. I was the child that actually questioned the religion. I had questions of things that I did not understand. But when I brought it to the people that were in charge, no matter if it's a grandmother, mother, whoever it may have been, they didn't have the answers for my questions. If anything, they would just tell me not to question God. Get down, pray, but don't question God. Of course, that is the background and the roots of Christianity, is not to question God. So none of my questions were ever met, and this is something that I truly didn't understand. But despite of that, I just sat with it because, again, this is all I know. I was very goal driven, so I wasn't looking out at anything outside of my religion. It wasn't until my spiritual awakening when I noticed something different. Mind you, I had no idea what a spiritual awakening was either, because this is something I was not taught within a religion. When I had this, it seemed like everything that I knew about myself, it wasn't me anymore. I did not gravitate nor had the ability to understand the ones that I was hanging out with before. I had to learn to navigate this path differently. It was hard. I had very hard days. No one that I knew personally was understanding me, and I didn't understand myself either. But what I did was decided to listen to what I was hearing and what I felt. Because the best thing you want to ever do, if you can't trust yourself, how can you trust anyone else? How can you trust anything outside of yourself if you can't even trust yourself? But again, remember, within the religion that I was in, it has nothing to do about self. It is all about outside sources. Everything is to be worshiped, praised outside of you. It teaches you nothing about you. So many of us get into this, and this becomes our identity because it was mine. You know, if you're in a certain religion, you walk that way, pray that way, eat that way, sleep that way, talk that way. It's just how it goes for the ones that's really deep into it. That was me. You know, everything I did was centered around my religion. I did not think I had any control or power or doing things on my own. The deeper I got into my journey, before I started to come out about realizing what I was and what I was hearing and the things I was seeing, was I started to remember as a child, I could see spirits. As a child, that they would communicate with me. It's like they were comfortable. Me and my siblings, you know, we have many occasions of when I would see it, they would see it as well. We had a great grandmother, when we would tell her that we're seeing these particular spirits, she would tell us to just go to sleep. She has water under the bed, and they will not touch us. We will be okay. As a child, I still did not understand what this meant. And mind you, she was in religion. She was one of the grandparents that was taking us to the church. We didn't know nothing outside of that. But when I got into this journey, when I started answering the calling for myself, when I started to realize that I was different than everyone else that was around me, I started to look up, what does it mean with the water under the bed? What was certain things that my grandmother was saying to me that I did not quite understand then? Is it that she seen these spirits and these things, but she didn't seem afraid of them at all? It's because she knew how to protect herself. It's because she was within things, but not trying to pass it on to us, because that was not her way. What she knew was the religion. That's just what she knew. And this is just me now. The person that I was before, I could not relate to. I have no idea on how to tell you anything about that individual. The people that I used to hang out with prior to my awakening, I don't hang out with anymore. We're nowhere near on the same levels. But I was living and walking around with a mask on to do everything that I was told I had to do. I was already given my name. Then I was given my religion. And then I was given a place to stay in my family. It was nothing for me to question until I had to question it. When I had my spiritual awakening. Once you experience that, you got two choices. You can either go ahead and feed into everything that you're feeling, or now you could go against your own self and walk around miserable because you know everything that you now see, because you see it. You see it. It's totally different than what everybody else is experiencing. So, are you going to answer the call? That was my choice. Are you going to answer the call? And I answered my call. There's no coincidence that I saw all these things as a child. There's no coincidence that every time I go around, everyone always comes to me and asking me for advice, asking me how can I shift them, asking that. It was always, as a child, everything was just brought to me. It wasn't until my spiritual awakening when I started to figure it out. Being a healer and not knowing that you're a healer can be a hard journey. Being an empath and not knowing that you're an empath and you're absorbing everybody's emotions around you can be a hard journey. But how can you distinguish your emotions from everybody else's? You can't. Not if you're not taught, you can't. You think it's yours. And many of us is out here living this way. Experiences, emotions. We're fine when we walk out our door. But when we get around certain people, something is off. But now we just feel like, well, maybe it's because I'm hungry, or maybe it's because of maybe because it's that person that you're around and your gifts are trying to trigger you and let you know and you're not listening because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So how I got on this path was because I had my spiritual awakening. And everything that I questioned as a child was for a reason. Now I know who I truly am. Now I am no longer following and doing what makes others around me comfortable. This is me. And there's nothing I can change about that, even if I wanted to. That's when you know you found exactly who you are.